You don't lack discipline, you don't lack motivation, and you're not inconsistent. That lie has kept you trapped longer than any external enemy ever could, because the real reason consistency feels impossible has nothing to do with effort, and everything to do with how your mind has been conditioned to protect comfort. Consistency isn't hard because the work is difficult. It's hard because consistency threatens the identity you've been using to survive. Your nervous system is not designed to reward growth. It is designed to preserve familiarity. And growth is unfamiliar. Every high performer you admire, every disciplined individual you envy, did not figure it out magically. They overrode a biological system that was screaming, "Return to safety." Most people never do. In the next few minutes, you're going to understand why your mind resists repetition, why motivation keeps collapsing, and how to build a form of consistency that does not depend on willpower, emotion, or inspiration. This is the real reason consistency feels impossible, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Consistency is not a productivity problem. It is an identity conflict. That is the first truth you must accept. If consistency were about time management, apps would have fixed it. If consistency were about motivation, quotes would have saved you. If consistency were about discipline, punishment would have worked, but none of them did. Because your inconsistency is not accidental, it is protective. Your brain is not malfunctioning, it is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The human nervous system evolved to minimize risk, not maximize potential. Repetition toward growth signals danger, stagnation signals safety. Let that sink in. Every time you decide to show up again, to write again, to train again, to study again, to build again, your brain interprets it as a threat to equilibrium, not because the action is harmful, but because the identity it creates is unfamiliar. And unfamiliar equals unsafe. This is why you can start strong and disappear silently. This is why you can plan obsessively and execute inconsistently. This is why you feel inspired on day 1 and exhausted by day 5. You are not lazy, you are regulated. Your nervous system is pulling you back to the version of you it recognizes. Most people never confront this truth. They keep trying to push harder against a system designed to pull them back. That internal tug of war is what drains them. Consistency feels impossible because you are trying to build a future with a nervous system anchored in the past. Let's go deeper. Your mind does not resist effort. It resists identity upgrades. Every repeated action is a vote, not just for a result, but for a version of you. And that is where the fear lives. When you show up consistently, you are silently declaring, "I am becoming someone else, someone more visible, someone more responsible, someone who can no longer hide behind excuses," and that terrifies the part of you that learned safety through invisibility. So the mind sabotages you, not loudly, but subtly. You don't quit dramatically. You drift, you rest, you reassess, you start again next week, and you call it inconsistency. But it is actually identity preservation. This is why motivation cannot save you. Motivation is an emotional spike. Consistency is a structural decision. Motivation asks, do I feel like it? Consistency asks, who am I regardless of how I feel? Your brain hates that question because once you answer it honestly, you can no longer negotiate with yourself. Let me say this clearly. If consistency depended on feeling ready, elite performers would not exist. They don't wait for alignment, they enforce alignment. And that enforcement begins by removing emotion from the equation. Here is the brutal truth. Your feelings are not designed to build your future. They are designed to protect your past. Every time you rely on emotion to dictate action, you hand control back to the version of you that already failed. Consistency feels impossible because you are asking permission from the very system that benefits from keeping you the same. Now understand this, repetition without identity integration will always collapse. You can force consistency temporarily. You cannot sustain it unless your self-image changes. And this is why people relapse. Not because the habit is hard, but because the identity was never installed. They tried to act like a disciplined person while still seeing themselves as inconsistent. That internal contradiction creates resistance. Your mind will always obey identity over intention. So the real question is not, how do I stay consistent? The real question is, who do I believe I am allowed to become? Most people never ask this. Instead, they chase systems, planners, routines, and hacks. But systems only work when the identity supports them. This is why two people can follow the same routine and get completely different outcomes. One sees consistency as natural, the other sees it as punishment. Same actions, different self-concept. And the self-concept always wins. Let me expose another layer. Your inconsistency is also reinforced by reward timing. The brain is addicted to immediate payoff. Consistency delays reward. You show up today, nothing happens. You show up tomorrow, nothing happens. You show up again, still nothing. Your nervous system asks, why am I expending energy without proof of survival benefit? So it redirects you to instant gratification, scrolling, entertainment, validation, comfort. This is not weakness, this is conditioning. You have trained your brain to expect pleasure quickly and growth slowly. And now you're surprised that consistency feels unbearable. But here's the shift. Elite consistency is built by divorcing action from reward. They don't expect feedback, they expect alignment. They don't ask, is this working yet? They ask, is this who I am? That difference is everything. Consistency becomes easy when it stops being a performance and starts being a standard. Standards do not negotiate, they execute. You brush your teeth without motivation. You don't ask if you're inspired. You don't wait for results. Why? Because it's part of your identity. That is the level consistency must reach. Until then, it will feel forced. So how do you build that? You stop chasing consistency and start enforcing non-negotiables. You shrink the scope and harden the rule. Not, I'll be consistent this year, but I don't skip twice. Not, I'll work when I feel motivated, but I show up at this time no matter what. The mind rebels against ambition. It submits to structure. This is why discipline is calm, not aggressive. Aggression burns out. Structure compounds. And here's the final truth most people avoid. Consistency exposes you. If you show up every day and nothing changes, you have no excuses left. So inconsistency becomes protection against self-confrontation. As long as you're inconsistent, you can blame timing, energy, circumstances, but consistency removes the alibi. And that level of honesty is uncomfortable. That is why consistency feels impossible. Not because you can't do it, but because doing it would force you to face yourself. If this hit deeper than expected, don't scroll past it. Subscribe, because this channel is not here to motivate you. It's here to rebuild how you think about power, discipline, and self-mastery. You don't need more hype. You need structural clarity, and that's what we do here. Consistency is not built by trying harder. It is built by becoming someone who does not debate with themselves. When identity is clear, action is automatic. So stop asking why consistency feels impossible. Ask instead, what version of me is my nervous system protecting? And is it time to outgrow him? Because the moment you decide that consistency is no longer optional but inevitable, the struggle ends and the work begins. If you're ready to stop restarting and start becoming, subscribe and stay here. This is Psyconance. And here we don't chase discipline. We install it.